China has always fascinated me. And if you go back a bit on the history, 1976, 80% of the population of China used to live in the suburbs, or probably the countryside. It was predominantly agricultural economy, rather no economy, to be honest, and political system was in a disarray. Things are pretty bad. And fast forward in 2020, it is probably the world's biggest manufacturing hub. You have a 200 billion, I was reading somewhere, $200 billion of the FDI and probably another same amount of the direct investment that happens in China as of today down the line. How has this all changed? Today, agriculture contributes to only 8% of their GDP. It's probably transformed completely from being an agricultural country to a manufacturing country. But the question is that, do they play by the rules? And is their economy open to other companies across the world? While they want to do business across the globe in every spectrum, but do they allow the same thing happening in their country? And we all know the answer, no. Now let's look at the two very interesting strategies, and which I've been reading down somewhere on the oil and also the manufacturing. And today, China is second to US in terms of the oil consumption, and it's probably not too far off. And a lot of economists and analysts like Anjani put together and say that in the next 2 decades, their oil consumption would be probably equal to all the other countries come together. But they only produce 10% of what they really need. And so what do? They go down to the different parts of the world where there are refineries, especially Middle East, and start putting up billions of dollars there, start putting up refineries there. Middle East, perpetually on the war, start giving them arms, and in return of many, many more things out there. What do they do on manufacturing? They realize that a lot of manufacturing or the sea hubs are controlled by US and the Suez Canal in Egypt and many others. And they go and they start building up ports and cities. And in Oman, they have very recently built probably the world's most modern city and the largest hub across. You go to Colombo, you go to Karachi, and they're probably practically saying that, yes, we produce the stuff here in China and it has a safe passage across the globe. And that's the kind of a strategy they really work upon. And I just can say that it's just the business for them with no political conditions involved with it. They don't give a damn about the human rights exploitation or the child labor involvement or a counterfeit involvement. The question is, are they really ever bothered about these particular things? So is it really possible to end the China's control on the global supply chain, as you call it? And probably that's the discussion topic today. Trump administration has talked about it and saying that he wants to bring the supply chain back from China home. Also want to incentivize a lot of other countries in the region to do that. So Taiwan, Vietnam, India, we all running and rushing to get a spot of it. But can we really ignore China? Because the combined together of all these countries, China still produces much, much more. We can just do a fraction of what China is largely producing now. We look at the case of India, and I always see that India is in a very strange situation. We send our raw materials, we send intermediate products to China to get the finished goods from the China. Look at the situation of COVID-19 battle. I think our humidifiers, even the liquid soaps, they've all been coming down from China. Where is all this make in India has probably gone. Sunil is sitting down and be getting those 3-4 large ticket FDI investments in India. And Reliance, of course, in a big space there recently, a couple of years back, Walmart acquired Flipkart. But is there really somebody investing into manufacturing? Everybody is acquiring the assets which are already exist in the country. But is someone really building the boat from the scratch? Can we answer that question? Why or why not is that happening? Today's India's border standoff with China has disrupted the complete customs thing. You know, there's you keep reading about this, that the consignments are stuck and not being cleared and so on, and many more issues, gentlemen. And to discuss all this and much more, how do you do the China's business transformation, especially on a supply chain? We have India's some of the finest corporate leaders, and all of them and their businesses are very much are related with China in some way or the other. And allow me to welcome them. So we have Sunil Seth, Chief Operating Officer and Board Member, Ashok Leyland. We have Sunil Dutt, President Devices, Reliance Jio. Vikas Kailas, Director, Mitra Energy. Yugandhar Puvvala, Global Head Supply Chain, Dr. Reddy Laboratories. And to moderate the conversation, we have Anjani Kumar, Partner Monitor, Deloitte, who's one of the key responsibilities at Deloitte is to advise company on the supply chain transformation in context to China. And, and with 5 extremely passionate leaders, I can expect anything less than an insightful and a engaging conversation. And so, Anjani, the screen is all yours. And I will return towards the end and probably try to know all our 6 leaders, all the 5 leaders on their life beyond the boardroom. And so, yeah, let me enjoy the conversation. And Anjani, probably screen's yours now.